Hello guys and welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna be reacting to how it's made. And Lex is here, but Lex is on Roblox. She doesn't care about the video. So right now we're gonna watch how it's made. Jelly beans and jawbreakers. Come on, Lex. Okay, Lex.
Start a true green lawn plant today for only $29.95 and live life outside.
Come on, Lex. I want you to be in the video. How it's made.
The jelly bean is colorful, but its beginnings are a bit of a gray area. No one is sure exactly when the jelly bean was invented or how. It's believed that the jelly center dates back to biblical times and a candy called Turkish Delight. Many centuries later, the outer shell was added, and the jelly bean was on its way to sweet success. The jelly bean is a sugary sensation. Billions are sold at Easter alone. To make jelly beans, they heat liquid sugar in a big kettle to about 175 degrees Celsius. They add glucose, which is a more concentrated sugar, and then starch. An agitating device mixes it all together. While elsewhere in the factory, starch spills out of a drum onto big trays.
Ew, but cool.
A leveler...
Hold up, guys. I'll be back out.
It makes 756 jelly bean impressions in the starch in each tray. The impressions in the starch will serve as molds for the jelly bean centers.
Okay.
Nozzles inject the sugar and starch mix cooked in the kettle into the starch molds. This system can make almost a million jelly bean centers an hour. Next, the conveyor belt takes the jelly bean centers to the drying room, where they stay for 24 hours. This solidifies them. They become chewier. Arms flip the trays of dried candy centers and starch and dump them into a big drum that will separate them. When the trays flip back, they're refilled with starch and the molding process begins again. Meanwhile, the dried jelly bean centers, now separated from the starch, tumble out of the drum onto a wire mesh conveyor system. It transports them to a steam belt which dampens them. This readies them for the next step, sugar coating. The jelly bean centers go into a sander drum that tosses them around, while nozzles spray them with sugar. In another part of the factory, liquid sugar flows out of a kettle into a tub.
A lot of YouTubers just do one time for every video, but I
A
want to do
worker adds
multiple.
blue food coloring to the syrup, and then
So you
he
guys
blends
won't
it
have
in.
to wait for
This
the other
mix
videos
is
to
called
upload.
engrossing syrup. He adds the engrossing syrup, along with some flavoring, to the jelly bean centers as they tumble around in a tilted spinning pan. After they turn a very sticky blue, the worker dumps some sugar into the pan. This process is repeated 4 times in order to build up a coating around the gummy center. The next day, when the beans have hardened, they add hot syrup to the mix and toss the beans around again. This polishes the jelly beans. There's a lot of sweet stuff here. 124,000 jelly beans in each pan. Now he adds a little wax. And as the pan spins, the beans rub against each other, distributing the wax. This adds gloss to the polish. Then the pan stops spinning, and the jelly beans air dry for 24 hours to allow the glaze to set. It's the finishing touch. After 3.5 days, this big batch of jelly beans is ready. They move in a multicolored mass along a series of conveyors. They fall into a scale system that portions them out for specific bag sizes. Then a trapdoor opens, and they drop down a chute to the packaging department. Once they're in the bag, the jelly beans are ready to sweeten your day. Jawbreakers, also known as gobstoppers, have preoccupied candy lovers for decades. You pop one in and slowly suck or chew through up to 10 layers of colors and flavors. Sometimes there's bubble gum in the middle for an even longer lasting finish. The larger ones are just for show. Most jawbreakers are about the size of a golf ball. To make their bubblegum centers, a worker blends synthetic rubber with powdered resin, which will dissolve the rubber. He adds a thickener, a preservative, and an oil called soya palm stearine, so the candy won't stick to your teeth.
Good.
After mixing and steaming at 148 degrees Celsius for 4 hours, the batter pours into trays to cool. Sugar, coloring, and flavoring would deteriorate in the heat, so workers add those later. There's enough of this base to make gum centers for 450,000 small jawbreakers. After 24 hours, the batter's hard. Workers chop it up and blend it with corn syrup to make it softer and sweeter.
This is cool.
They add 45 kilos of finished gum that didn't make it into jawbreakers before because it wasn't the right shape. Now they add natural and artificial flavors, which can include lemon, orange, strawberry, grape, and even tutti frutti. Then they add icing sugar. It makes the gum smoother to chew than regular sugar would. Workers dump the batch into an extruder that shapes 2 continuous streams of batter called rope. Another extruder divides each rope into 6 hollow tubes. The cavity inside will become pockets of air inside the gum centers. The next...
And the wolf huffed and puffed.
Like you do sometimes, Grandpa?
Well, when you have COPD, it can be hard to breathe. It can be hard to get air out, which can make it hard to get air in. So I talked to my doctor. She said,
Symbicort could help you breathe better, starting within 5 minutes. Symbicort doesn't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden symptoms. Symbicort helps provide significant improvement of your lung function. Symbicort is for COPD, including chronic bronchitis and emphysema. It should not be taken more than twice a day. Symbicort contains formoterol. Medicines like formoterol increase the risk of death from asthma problems. Symbicort may increase your risk of lung infections, osteoporosis, and some eye problems. You should tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it.
Symbicort could mean a day with better breathing. Watch out, piggies!
Symbicort. Breathe better, starting within 5 minutes.
Get Symbicort free for up to 1 year. Visit
I don't get why there's an ad.
Next machine
I don't recognize
slices
there's an
the
ad,
tubes
sorry.
into 1 meter long segments.
I didn't know there was a skip button there.
A mechanical arm pushes the segments into the channel of a forming machine. Steel rolls then slice through the tubes and shape them into balls. The balls range in diameter depending on the size of the jawbreakers being produced. Air blows through perforations in a cooling tunnel to cool and firm the centers. Then they fall onto another forming machine, which restores their round shape. Other jawbreakers have hard candy in the center. The machine that makes them works like the presses drug companies use to make pills. It feeds candy powder into dies, then applies up to 5 tons of force to compress the powder into a solid candy. Now for the rest of the jawbreaker. First, they dump the candy centers into what's called a coating pan. They add a hot mixture of water, corn syrup, and food coloring. Then dextrose, a type of powdered sugar. The pan rotates for 20 minutes as warm air drives the ingredients over the centers. The factory repeats this step 10 times for each layer. Talk about a sweet ordeal. Making a jawbreaker takes 4 days.
Wow.
Workers give this batch special treatment. They speckle these jawbreakers with different colors, giving them what this company calls the psychedelic look. After letting the candies dry for 24 hours, a worker adds pinches of powdered carnauba wax. This gives the jawbreakers a shiny finish. Sliced open, you can see these jawbreakers have 10 layers of flavors and sugar surrounding either hard candy or bubblegum cores.
That
They
is
measure
cool.
5.7 centimeters in diameter.
So now chocolate. I think I'm gonna do too. Yeah,
This factory makes chocolate in various forms and sells it to companies which manufacture chocolate products for retail sale. It also supplies chocolate components such as cocoa powder and cocoa butter. Most of the cocoa beans arriving here come from West Africa, which grows 70% of the world's crop. A conveyor belt moves them through a cleaning system, a series of sieves that
Actually,
screen
we're gonna
out
watch the
twigs,
chocolate one
stones, and other
tomorrow. Hot dogs.
Hot dogs are an all-American fare, but most likely it was German sausage makers who first came up with the idea.
Hold up, let me
In
skip
fact,
through because
there
I'm
are
gonna run
reports
out of time.
traditional hot dogs are made from a mix of pork, beef, and chicken. The cuts they start with are called trimmings, pieces of meat left over from cutting steaks or pork chops.
Ew.
The trimmings are ground the same way butchers chop up hamburger meat, by pushing the cuts through grated metal plates.
Go.
Processed chicken trimmings are added to the ground meat, followed by food starch,
Ew.
salt, and other flavorings.
Brown mustard.
These flavorings vary depending on where the hot dogs are to be sold, because people in different regions have different tastes.
Is that the ground mustard? Because it looks like mustard and it's powder.
Water is sprayed into the mix, and everything is blended together in a big vat. Corn syrup adds a dash of sweetness.
Now they're adding syrup, which looks like water.
The addition of even more water helps to disperse the ingredients and make the hot dogs juicier.
Okay.
Another machine then purees the meat batter into a fine
Ew.
emulsion and vacuums out any air. Long rolls of cellulose tubing are loaded into the stuffing machine. It pumps the meat puree into these casings, twisting it every 5 1/4 inches, the length of one hot dog. It takes just 35 seconds to make a chain of hot dogs that would span a soccer field twice.
What? This is insane. This is really cool.
Then, 3 of those hot dog chains are linked together to make an even longer string,
Bam,
and they're
bam,
loaded
bam,
several at a
bam,
time
bam.
into another machine, which drapes the hot dogs onto moving racks.
Yes.
The process is carefully
Yeah.
timed so that a twist always lands on the
Yeah.
bar.
Oh wow.
The
And then
racks
they
shove the hot dogs through a liquid smoke
Okay, I'm
shower,
gonna stop talking
then
now.
into an oven with several cooking zones.
We
The
didn't get
liquid
to
smoke
watch
seeps
that
through the
much of
casing
this.
and adds flavor to the dogs as they bake.
We'll watch the rest next time, and another one next